same hook, the same order, left to right. I sign the log at 6 the way I always have. The fluorescent tube still flickers on the right. I walk the corridor at 6:30. 14 steps to the end and back. The cells are open now by policy. I check them anyway. I check the locks. The gate swings clean. The bolt is oiled. The count comes up to 0 every time. The count comes up to 0, and I write it down the way I always write it down. The cafeteria order came in Tuesday. 400 portions, same as every week. I filled the form before I checked the numbers. I crossed it out. I filled a smaller sheet. The warden's office has been dark since August. The intercom still crackles when it rains. I tested it this morning just to check. I tested it and put the handset back again. They gave us retraining in the fall. A room with chairs and someone with a slide. I sat beside a man I'd worked with 20 years. We didn't talk about it on the ride. They said our skills were transferable. They said the town had need of structured minds. I drove back here the next morning at 6 and signed the log the way I always sign. Check the gate. Gate is clear. Check the gate. Gate is clear. Check the gate. The paper is the same weight as before. 90 grams, the kind that holds the ink. I tape the corners down the way I learned. The parallel lines take about a week. I start from the coastline, always the coastline. The coast at least is still approximately true. The river's moved a little in the north. I corrected those in February too. The legend is on the lower left. The scale is 1 to 50,000. Every symbol means exactly what it meant. Every line is where the line was. image up there, I drew it then, a single measured stroke. You'd need a magnifying glass to see it. A geographer would call it fine work. There's no one on that ridge controlling passage. There's no one checking papers in the town. The checkpoint building has a family in it. They painted it, they took the barrier down. I sent the latest edition to the Institute. They wrote back after several weeks. They said the work was technically impressive. They asked what I intended it to depict. I started a new sheet that afternoon. The same coastline, the same opening line. Some things require documentation, even after they have ceased to define. True to scale line holds. True to scale line holds. True to scale.
The chair across from mine has held a lot of weight. I reupholstered it in 2012. The fabric now is wearing at the armrests, from hands that needed somewhere to press down. I keep the tissue box beside the lamp. I keep the lamp at 40 watts exactly. I've learned that certain light invites the voice. I keep the notepad open on my knee. The waiting room has 2 chairs and a plant. The plant has been the same plant for 11 years. The magazines are recent now. I update them. There is no one turning pages. I published something in the spring on grief. The editor said it was important work. She asked if I was seeing many cases. I said the field was going through a shift. My notes from March have 4 appointments in them. My notes from August have a single name. I see her every other week on Tuesdays. We talk about her mother. It's the same. I trained for 7 years to read the silence, to find the thing beneath the thing beneath, to sit with someone in the room they're trapped in, until the room becomes a room they leave. The silence now is different in my office. It doesn't come from someone holding back. It comes from the chair across from mine. Just being a chair. Notepad open, lamp at 40. Notepad open, lamp at 40. The plant is fine.
on the desk since Monday morning. Target demographic 18 to 44. They want something that creates a sense of urgency. They want something that makes people want more. I have the font, I have the color palette, I have the image of the woman on the hill. I have the space above the fold reserved. I've been sitting here since 9 o'clock. What do you sell to someone who has enough? What do you tell them that they haven't heard? What is the hole you point to in the morning when the hole has been filled in? I used to know the answer before breakfast. The gap between the wanting and the having was where I lived, where all of this made sense, was where the headline wrote itself by 9. I called the client on a Thursday afternoon. I told them that the concept needed time. They said, take what you need, there is no deadline. I wrote that down, I looked at it a while. There is a version of this job that still exists, I've read about it. Someone sent a paper, something about desire beyond necessity, something about the self that wants to want. I printed it and put it on the desk, next to the brief, next to the woman on the hill. I've been reading it for 3 weeks now. I think I'm almost there. Above the fold, space reserved. Above the fold, space reserved. Above the fold.
I check the door at night before I sleep. The latch, the bolt, the chain, in that order. I've done it long enough that if I don't, I lie there in the dark and do it in my mind. I check the balance in the morning still, before the coffee, before I'm fully there. The number is the same it was last week. The number is the same it always is now. My hands know things my head has let go of. My shoulders carry weight that isn't there. The body keeps the old instructions running. long after the emergency is cleared. I bought 3 extra bags of rice in August. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. They're sitting in the cabinet by the window. I rotate them so the oldest goes in front. My daughter watched me check the door last Tuesday. She asked me what I was afraid of losing. I told her it's just habit, it's just habit. She nodded and went back to what she was doing. They said the nervous system takes its time, that the body writes in deeper ink than the mind, that you can know a thing is over and still flinch at the sound of it. I know the thing is over, I still check the door. Latch, bolt, chain. Latch, bolt, chain. Everything is fine. Latch, bolt, chain.
The barrier lifts at 7, drops at 7:15. The cycle runs regardless of the traffic. I calibrated it in March of last year. I haven't touched the settings since then. The booth is heated in the winter months. The form requires a destination and a name. The carbon copy goes into the binder. The binder goes into the cabinet on the left. The cars slow down before the line. They always slow before the line. They stop and then they see it's clear. They stop and then they carry on. Nobody hands me anything. Nobody waits for me to look. The barrier goes up all the same. I stamp the air above the desk. There was a man on Thursday in a gray car. He stopped completely, window coming down. He looked at me the way they used to look. He asked if he needed something from me. I told him no. He waited for a moment. He looked at the booth, the barrier, the binder. He said okay. He put the window up. He drove through at exactly the right speed. I filed a report about the interaction. Section 4, unusual civilian contact. The form still has a space for threat assessment. I left it blank. I signed the bottom line. Barrier up. No contact. Barrier down. No contact. Barrier up.
I'm up before the data always have been. The models run at 3, I check at 4. 40 years of reading what the pressure does. 40 years of knowing what is coming. The eyes of bars are gentle now and steady. The variance is narrower than it was. I plot the week ahead on the same paper. I've been using this paper since the 90s. The forecast is accurate. The forecast is accurate. High pressure holding through the week. Winds light and variable. No warnings to issue. No warnings to issue. I gave a lecture at the university last spring. The students were polite and well-intentioned. One asked me what it felt like to predict disaster and arrive at the right answer every time. I told her that the rightness wasn't comfort, that you wanted to be wrong more than you wanted to be right, that the whole point of the work was that it mattered. She wrote it down, I'm not sure that she understood. The instruments are calibrated perfectly. The satellites return exactly what I asked. The ocean temperature is within parameters. The parameters themselves have changed. I update the baseline every quarter. The old baselines are in a folder on the shelf. I don't look at them often. Last Tuesday, I looked at them for a long time. Pressure steady, no warnings. Pressure steady, no warnings. 4 a.m. data received.
She found it in the drawer beneath the table, between a button and a rubber band. A paper with her name on it, no, not her name. The name of someone who lived here before. She brought it to the kitchen, smoothed it flat. Read the numbers out the way she reads. What is amount due, she said. What is the date of disconnection? I took it from her hands. I looked at the number. I put it on the counter. I said it was from a long time ago. I said we don't do that anymore. I said go wash your hands for lunch. She asked again at dinner, quieter this time. What did we do when the light cost something? I said we paid it, everybody paid it. I said some people couldn't. She nodded the way she nods at history, at things that happened far away and long before. She asked if it was like when horses pulled the carts. I said yes. I said something like that. I found the bill again before I slept. I don't know why I kept it in that drawer. The number on it is a number I remember. The month it's from I don't think about anymore. I turned the paper over. It was blank. I folded it the way you fold a thing. I put it back beneath the rubber band. I closed the drawer. Amount due, amount due. The light stays on. Amount
had a room they went to on Thursdays. I wasn't allowed in until I was 12. When they showed me, I expected something different. There was a server and a mat and a smell of incense. They said it was a practice, not a religion. They said the difference mattered. I should know. I nodded the way you nodded. 12 years old, the things adults say that they need you to receive. I don't go on Thursdays anymore. I don't go on any day. There's nothing in that room that I'm avoiding. There's nothing in that room. My mother asked me once if I felt empty. I told her I felt fine. I felt completely fine. She looked at me the way the devout look at someone standing in the rain without an umbrella. My father built the whole thing with his hands. The copper wire, the mat, the cooling fan. He said the act of building was the point. He seemed to mean it. Maybe that was enough. I've read about the things they were afraid of. The wars, the shortages, the older dark. I understand it the way you understand weather. From a photograph of somewhere you've never been. I don't need what they needed. I know that I just don't know yet what I need instead. Thursday, nothing. Thursday, nothing. Fine. She asked me first about the wars, how long they went and why they started. I told her about the maps and the water, about the things people were afraid of losing. She listened with her chin upon her hand, the way she listens when she's keeping it. She asked me then about the money, why the light and food and water cost something. I said, because they came from somewhere far away, and someone had to move them to us. She said, oh. She looked at the window for a moment. She said, that sounds very complicated. I said it was. She asked me then why people were so angry all the time, and all the pictures she had seen. I started with the fear, the way I always start, with how much energy it takes to not have enough, how it gets into the way you see the others, how it makes the world feel like the window. The light is the same light it always is. She has already moved on to something else.